Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here in world famous Waikiki Beach in Hawaii. I'm on vacation, but the show is not on vacation. Never is. So we always bring you the best content. We get down and dirty every day, and we're we're gonna get downer and dirtier today with none other than the world famous wide receiver from the Detroit Lions. Herman Moore joins the program. Herman. Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know. You're a long way away from me. All I know is that right behind me is Waikiki Beach. What's behind you? What do you have going on there in your world?
If I listen,
Detroit,
Scott. Hey, Scott. If I look over here to my left, it's a bunch of snow. It's a bunch of snow.
Yeah.
So for you to sit there and tell us about your travels and everywhere you are, so if you get down and dirty, then I guess you can go and just take a quick dive over in the ocean, huh?
I absolutely.
I'll go do snow angels. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, it's a great combination. The hot and cold contrast is the thing that I guess helps your body. You ever do hot and cold contrast? Is that a thing? You ever get into cold stuff? Did you?
I used to get in those ice buckets. Everyone talks about getting in there. It gets your jewels kind of going right there. So it's you jump down in that thing. It is a little different, but only time was only in treatment. They do the the heat pad, then you do ice, and you do the heat, then you do the ice, and they do the alternations. I always wondered when we got injured back in the day. If you look back at it, I wonder if they were really experimenting on us. Think about it.
I'm sure they were.
I don't remember asking anyone for certification or saying, you know what, you got to show me. I want to see your accolades. I need to see what qualifies you to sit here and tell me that I'm okay to go back out here with a third-degree tear in my quad, but I'm okay now.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good thing you bring up. I'm glad you did this because I wanted to talk about this today a little bit. But it is practicing medicine, right? They're practicing it. It's not perfected. It's not. They're not perfecting medicine. They're just practicing. So I 1,000% agree that I'm sure there are things they do today that they never did on us. But I wanted to ask you about kind of in your playing day. So Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft both are not going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, and there's a lot of speculation as to why not. But it has come up, the whole Spygate and Deflategate and kind of cheating thing, and so I here I'm in Hawaii. Of course, this is where the Pro Bowl used to be, which when it was really the Pro Bowl. We'll get into that in a bit too. But I'm how many guys you think are in the Hall of Fame today who maybe shouldn't be, or maybe they should have, I don't know, had to wait, or and why? Because a lot of that's never. How many guys do you think are not in the Hall of or in the Hall of Fame that probably cheated in some form or some fashion?
Cheated, you have to wait a minute. Now you're gonna have to define. You mean you mean as far as went against the rules, maybe did some things that everyone knew that they were doing that that's a deeper conversation. But hold on, there's a deeper conversation though, Scott, that has to happen there, because we won't even get into the drug testing, the performance enhancement stuff and all these things. Come on, like anyone who goes that didn't occur and that we don't have any Hall of Famers who participated in that. I mean, let's be honest, right? Let's be real. It's not to throw anybody on the bus. We don't have to get into the names and all that, but we knew it was rampant through sports, right? We knew it was the NFL wasn't immune to it. We knew it was in all the other sports. It's in the Olympics. It's in baseball. I don't know if it's ever in basketball, for whatever reason. It didn't look like it, but in these other sports where it required power and it required strength and speed and all these other things that gave you the competitive advantage and speedy recovery. Of course, people were cutting corners, and of course, some of those people are going to be in the Hall of Fame. They're going to be some of your most adulated and recognized players of the game, and some of them are iconic. However, how do you rectify that? It's just that's one of those things that, there's smoke and there's probably fire, but I don't think there's anyone that wants to open up that can, because once you go down those paths that you're bringing up, then it implodes the entire system. I think you would agree with that. Like right now, who's deserving? Objectively, you can make the Hall of Fame a very objective process by putting objectivity in there versus making it so subjective. Like there's criteria. Like I looked at when I just went into the College Football Hall of Fame, and I wasn't aware of a lot of the criteria. I knew I was a nominee for it.
When did that happen?
It happened probably, I think, the beginning of this year. I think it was announced
was it this year you're in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. So 2026 College Football Hall of Fame. I ended up making it this year.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Dominic Susan this year.
Is it Eric Weddle?
Who else? Aaron Donald. Say it again.
Eric Weddle. He was inducted this year, or he will be this year. Yeah. That's a class right there.
Yeah, it's a pretty good class, man. It's a lot of the guys. I don't want to do anyone disservice and not mention certain names, but it was just some that jumped out that were a little bit more modern, a little bit more that I know because of what they've done in the NFL. But the criteria that was off-field stuff you had to do. It was a criteria in terms of what you had to do, and you had to be at a minimum have at least All-American. You had to have at least this, that, or the other, right? So it made it to where the process of elimination was easier. Then we get into this back end part, who's doing things and cheating behind the scenes. I think then that's when you dial into the resume, right? That's when you get into character and you get into other things with players. So I just think it's kind of wide open because it's not defined. I think it should be about what you did on the field, but I think also how you did it on the field and what allowed you to do it on the field should be taken into consideration.
I just know you talked about the whole thing about they were just experimenting on us maybe with some of their treatment, and they were probably trying to use the best medicine or they may have been cutting corners just because the best medicine for most of the injuries we had would probably be not to go and play in a football game, but most of us were going to go play. We were going to figure out how to play, and so they got creative about things. I know I separated my shoulder when I was with the Miami Dolphins, and they initially told me your season's over with. You're going to be 16 weeks in, probably have to have some kind of pin put in your shoulder to hold back down your AC joint and all that. and then I got a call from Russell Warren, who is the team doctor for the New York Giants, and he said, "Hold on just a second." He says, "You need to go to New York City and to the hospital of special surgeries and have them look at this." And I did. And they said, "Look, we found by immobilizing the arm, it actually hurt and extended the recovery." He says, "You need to get the arm moving as quickly as you possibly can." And I was able to come back in 5 weeks, which would have, it was more than double that time. And so my season would have been over, and it wasn't. I came back and played. And so I think that stuff is always evolving. The whole thing about, what is the best, procedure or processes, or how do we get players on the field, or how do we get better at things? But I also think players push the envelope, and they'll do things that no one ever talked about or no one ever talks about. And part of that is to get an edge on their competition. And part of it is the guys are just crazy and stupid and are going to try these ridiculous things to be out on the field. And I'm not throwing shade on anyone here, but I know like players did things that were probably not in, well, I say probably, they weren't within the rules. They were trying to get an advantage, and they just never talked about it. We had this drug testing thing, and we don't have to go too deep into the drug testing, but I got drug tested 1 year 8 times. So there's 16 weeks in a season. So half the season, and it's random. And I go into this guy and I go, "Really? Again, we're going to do this?" I go, "What? I'm a quarterback. Like I was in there with wide receiver. I was in there with the kicker. I was in there with all these guys that, and I'm like, is this really that random? It's like, I don't see some people in here that are really big. And I go, I'm not trying to gain weight. I'm trying to lose it. It's like, what's going on?
Was this in 95? Would this happen to be in 95?
It was every year. I'm telling you, I got so drug tested.
I got drug tested the minute I started to have my 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
It went from a handful of times random, and then all of a sudden 95, man, it was like basically I might as well make a coffee date with him, man, and just say, "You know what, when we just meet at our favorite place, we can get something to eat, and you can give me the cup, we can go run into the bathroom real quick and break bread," right? I want to say this one last point to your point, and we can move on to something else if you like. But, you know, in one of my best seasons, or pretty much pick any season where I excelled, I was injured in that season. And the reason being is, like you said, you're going to push the envelope, the pressure of honoring and trying to, you know, gain that contract and do those things. You had to really play for that contract, right? And I remember playing in it pretty much almost an entire season. I got tackled, and before I went to the ground, I got hyperextended or something with my quad and had a 3rd degree tear in my quad, which meant it completely tore the quadricep muscle. Right. There was no repairing it. And they said, basically, I didn't have to miss any time. And I said, well, shouldn't I need to get treatment or do something? They says, no, because the only thing that's going to happen, you can't tear it anymore. Like, it's done. Right. Like there's no harm. And I was listening, I think this year, a couple players, or I've heard someone had a 3rd degree tear or something like that. And it's amazing how now it's like, it's surgery, it's protocol, it's out, it's like, it's unfortunate. But to me, it was like, oh, you're good to go. Just get back in there and go ahead and play. And I played the season with a completely torn quadricep with a defect that you could clearly see. It was indentation in my quad, and I didn't look like I missed a beat. So yeah, that's the NFL in our days.
Yeah. When you're talking about getting injured, I have this image that comes into my head, and you had, I don't know, you had some cut or something on your forehead, and you had this big white bandage, and you wrapped like, I don't know, you had it looked like, it didn't look professionally done. Let's just put it that way. It looked like one of your kids said, "Hey, Dad, let me dress up your wound," and it was just this goofy looking, and they wrapped it all the way around your head, like, I guess, to keep it on. It was almost like some like, I don't know, out of control headband or something that you had, and
like I was in war, man.
It really did. Oh, it was
I can tell you what play it was exactly. So it was a dig route. It was our dig route when I took it to the house, 69 yards against Green Bay, when I had the 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I ran it all in. If anyone's got that film, you go look at it at the end. I went over to the wall where the fans kind of lean over, and they had this cheap tarp with a signage over it, but there's a metal like bar behind it, and it had a sharp corner. You know, it was just right at a 90-degree angle. And one of the fans was patting me on the back of my helmet and congratulating me, and it hit me here, and it just had to perfectly, it hit me in there. And I came back, and you'll see me after the play doing like this, because the blood's pouring down my face. And I'm looking at it like, where was this blood coming from? And I go back. I actually had a picture of Kent Fall wrapping it around my head, and it was a little cut, like you could probably still see it right there. See that right there?
Yeah.
There it is right there. All they had to do is put a Band-Aid or something on it, right? I know I'm a dark brother, man, but listen, it's right there. And they put a whole bandage around my head, man.
Looks like you got makeup on today. Did you put up makeup? Like you got foundation going on today?
You already know. Anybody know that theme? It don't crack.
Not at all.
Your whole audience. We'll find out what kind of audience we have when I go. It doesn't crack. They'll understand. We'll see. And in the comments, you can leave it in the comments below if you want to comment on that.
All right, I want to do this clip. I'm going to show you this clip. This is from Joe Montana talking about what his responsibility and role is in developing younger players.
It's kind of, people laugh because, oh, you're just getting it back because when Steve DeBerg was here, he did that to me. But the difference was we were 2-14 and 6-10. So I was getting playing time. He was teaching me the game in the easiest spots he could put me into. And then everybody said, well, you're just getting it back from what happened there. But the difference was we had a good team. Everybody used to say, well, how did you help Steve along? I go, no, not my job. My job was to make sure he stayed behind me. Right. And if he's staying behind me, then I'm doing my job. He wasn't getting stuck in the games where we had to battle for him. And that's the part I didn't appreciate. And then as after Bill left with George, and when I was healthy and not even being, we just should have gone to 3 Super Bowls in a row and not even be able to compete for my job. That part I didn't think was fair after they stuck him up my butt for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So I know. And I'm in Joe Montana's corner here. And I know there's this big debate about, your responsibility and your role of younger players and helping them and tutoring them and mentoring them and developing them and all this stuff. And I'm curious what your philosophy or your thought process is on this. And there are no wrong answers here, just so you know. So please give me the down and dirty on this. How did you feel about this with young wide receivers? Was it your responsibility to help and nurture them?
It wasn't so much my responsibility to detract and distract myself from what I need to do and be focused. It was to lead by example. I think you go out, you execute, you show them, especially if you're a veteran and you're the starter, then you're going to have more reps. So you need to make sure that you're doing things the right way, because that footage is what they're learning off of. You're going to have some players who are going to just be more talented than you sometimes in areas that may be backups. They may be better than you, but it's not their time. And when that time comes forward, then it's a competition. But I think it should be earned, not given. I do believe in that. I think if you've earned that position, then it's up to the other person to take it. A lot of people will say, well, if you don't put them in that position to take it, then I agree with Joe in that you don't just remove a player, especially if they haven't done anything wrong and they are successful and they're winning. It should happen when, the opportunity or the window of opportunity presents itself and the other player gets an opportunity to compete for it. And the final part I would say to that is, I think it's important that we correct and we do pass along some of the knowledge so that we're on the same page as a unit, as a starter or as a backup. If there's something you see, you need to be sharing that information. You need to be sharing those skill sets or that information that makes the unit whole. But I don't believe you just give up your position or that you should lose it just because someone else feels that I think this person should be in there. I think there should be a protocol in terms of how they earn it.
I don't know how much time you have. Like you think of the preparation every week, and I know for me, I like to take all the reps in practice, and I didn't like to take reps in practice if guys weren't going to be in the game, because you just didn't have that many reps, So I hear this comment, and I think of the way I was mentored, because for my first 4 years in the NFL, I literally sat between Don Shula and Dan Marino every day. Like it was crazy. And just, they didn't sit there and they put their arm around me and say, now we're going to show you how to do this kind of thing. They were just like, we're trying to figure out how to win this week. And young man, you just sit here and you watch and observe and listen. And if you have something to add to the conversation, great. But otherwise it isn't your time and you're not going to get in a game. But you need to figure out how to prepare yourself for when that opportunity comes. And there were a lot of things, Dan was always great to me. Both of them were awesome towards me. And man, did I learn a lot from them. But it was in passing moments. It was a suggestion or a scenario would come up and they would just talk through it. And I was just sitting there ferociously taking notes and soaking it all in. But and Marino viewed me as a threat. I mean, and when I first got there, he was not kind to me at all. But as time went on, it changed. And I mean, he was amazing too. He's the kind of guy that literally would give you the shirt off his back kind of. It's just how he was. I mean, he invited me to play golf all the time. He had tickets to Marlins games, to Miami Heat games. And he goes, anytime you want to go, you can just use my seats. I don't go that much, whatever. And so I went all the time, but it's a small window. And, I look at guys like where with Tom Brady and Belichick, bringing Brady in and keeping him there. And I thought that at the time was, man, that's a dumb move. That's a bold move, because Drew Bledsoe was the guy at the time. And I don't know. I was just curious your thoughts on, how far does your limits or, what obligations you have with these younger players?
Well, think of it this way. I came in 1991, first round draft pick, 10th pick overall. And you had Willie Green, Robert Clark, Aubrey Matthews, Jeff Campbell. And they had to run and shoot. But Coach Fonts was looking to go to more of a bigger receiver setup. They want to do a hybrid of the run and shoot. So you couldn't really stick with those smaller players.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm dealing with players who couldn't really teach me how to be a big receiver because they were smaller receivers. They couldn't teach me how to be aggressive at the line of scrimmage. They had to use footwork, whereas I could use strength and power. And so in there could also be a change or a difference in style that I guess justifies making changes based on philosophy of system, which means is not that a player lost their position because of how they played or their performance. It's just they no longer fit the system or fit the chemistry of what the team is trying to do. That can happen even with a coach that comes in and has a favorite type of system. Look at what happened with Barry. You know, it was like, no longer do we want to give it to you when we get inside the 10, and definitely not inside the 5, because we think we need to, you know, with Coach Ross, we need to run it in and we need to run between the tackles, right? And not bounce it outside. So there's a lot that can go into it, but no, there's all systems are broken. There's no perfect way to put it. And as I actually agree with you when you said, you know, there's no right or wrong answer. And I agree, there isn't a right or wrong, but in this situation, there's going to be someone who's going to win and someone's going to lose, no matter how you shake it out.
Hey, did I mention to you that I'm in Hawaii?
Hey, you know what? If you say it again, let me ask you this, man. Are you going down and you're going to do the thing where they lean backwards and they walk up under the stick? I would give you every dollar I have to see you try and do one of those things right there, man.
So I think you're referring to the limbo, right?
Yeah, the limbo. There it is.
Yeah.
I'm a brother, man.
So,
we do a lot of limbo. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah.
No, I understand. Actually, what they do is they have luau's, like, and they have the Polynesian Cultural Center, which is pretty remarkable to go see. I think hula dancing would be like to learn how to hula dance, and so I wouldn't mind seeing, like, if you could hula dance or even me.
Man, come on, man. You got to have style. First of all, you got to have rhythm and you got to have style. I have those. I wouldn't do it because it's like, I don't know if that's not my vibe, right? But hula hoops and all that, come on, man. Yeah.
Can you hula hoop?
You need. Man, I can do anything I want.
No, I know, but can you? Like, yeah. Most men cannot hula hoop, even if you got rhythm.
Man, listen, I can hula hoop if I need to.
I got to see this.
If my life depended on it.
So, of course, this Hawaii here. We'll. I know the secret to hula hooping, or not hula hooping, but the like the hula dance, like with the grass skirt.
There's to even go off of that. Listen, you're on skirts and hula hoops and all this other hulas and what else. Listen, man, have you tried the coffee? You go to Hawaii, you got to have some coffee.
Yeah.
Are you a coffee drinker?
See, I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh,
so,
man, dude, you got it. You got it. When you go into these different places that are known for coffee, man, you got to go see if they got some of that. That nice,
you know, I can ask them for you if you want.
Get some. If you get some, man, grab some of that. I don't know if they'll hold you up at checking in and stuff, but if you get some of that authentic Kona
coffee,
back.
I'll get you some Kona coffee. All right, I can do that. So this is where the Pro Bowl meant something. You know, you went to Hawaii. You know, you played in Aloha Stadium, and of course you went out to the Pro Bowl when it meant something. Is it kind of gone forever, or is there a place, or is there a formula that could make because I didn't watch a single moment of the Pro Bowl games and the flag football and all the stuff they were doing. Is there a way to revive and bring back the Pro Bowl?
No, it's done. The physical side of it is completely done. One, because of the monetary piece that's involved. I think when you look at all the players and what they're having to do, it's more entertainment. It's for the younger fan base. This is definitely not meant for any of the guys that are your physical sports. This is meant for the younger generation. It's meant for the entertainment, and also I think it's the festivities. They've built it into where it's more about just the having time and having opportunity to go out and meet the fans, see the players without their helmets on, be up close and personal. You look at even in this clip, you see how close they are to the field versus sitting in the stands at another football game. So I think it has some of its the things that it's looking for from a value standpoint, but reviving it in its authenticity and the way it was. No. And I even spoke on this earlier this week, Scott, that, thinking about it, and it was only one thing I was missing. I didn't get my QB1, who should have been there at least one time with me. Now I had to play with other quarterbacks, but I had mentioned about some of the quarterbacks that I was out there with. And then, Michael Irvin's in the slot. Jerry Rice is playing X. I'm playing Z. Chris Carter's in the slot. I'm Z. And then you got somebody else that, whatever, right? And then you got Warren Moon or Steve Young. And I only name these quarterbacks because these are those Hall of Famers, right, that are out there.
Right.
And Barry and Emmett in the backfield. So you will never see games like that ever again. I mean, it's not that it's more entertaining or you're competing against it. It's just the meaning of it. Like you said, the meaning of what it meant. And these guys played like Junior. I saw one play. Steve Atwater tackled me. Del Carter was a corner, 4-time Pro Bowler. And then you got Junior Seau running me down like he wants to take my head off. And I didn't even realize I'm playing amongst these guys during my time. Right. And because you get caught into the wave. So it's different than when you're sitting there and you're looking at the guys and, it's the flag football and it's the cool stuff and the fans. And you see all the little kids. It's just different. It's a different game. So I wouldn't throw necessarily shade on it as much as I just say it's definitely not the caliber of what Pro Bowl meant as it is now, more just entertainment.
See, I hate it. And I hate watching it, but you've actually given me kind of a thought for maybe how it might be interesting, because there's something about not having your helmet on, because when you have your helmet on, no one sees your personality. They don't see your eyes. They don't really know what you look like. And I think most people look ridiculous in helmets. It just doesn't really personify who all you see basically are your eyes and your cheeks kind of squished together. And the helmets they have today and those little protective beanies they put around it just looks so clownish to me. But when they take the helmets off and the fans get to see the players and they see the personality and they interact with them like that, that's actually quite interesting and which I hadn't thought about. And so I could possibly get into that, and I get it, because the fans are like, because you want to see the personality, you want to see the player, you want to see him up close, which is what is great about basketball. It's so much more intimate with the players, and because you're close and you see who they are, and the recognition of them is much greater. But the other thing that I think would be cool, and I literally just thought of this when we were talking, you talk about the younger generation, and so many of them are into gaming and watch Madden and all that stuff, and I wonder if they could program a Madden game with like the Pro Bowl. And maybe they do this. Maybe I'm just behind the times and someone's already figured this out. But I think that would be kind of fun to have like a virtual Madden competition with the very best players going against the very best players, and actually doing a simulated game and seeing how who came out on. It's like every year they do the Punxsutawney Phil, and he determines how much, how much longer winter's going to be. And it's just, it's just kind of some formula. And so they could have something where they do a simulated game and there's something on the line for it. Like everyone in the NFC gets, some kind of bonus if your team won Madden Bowl over the AFC, and vice versa. I don't know, just virtual games. That's where it's all headed.
I can tell you right now, what I've seen, and if we can look at the commercials and you look at the influencers and you look at those that aren't necessarily in the professional spotlight where it's monopolized and they keep you out, there's no creativity that comes into it because everyone just has a game plan. I've seen it somewhere. I'm going to now replicate it and do it here. And now we're going to bring it to the NFL. That's the laziness of some of the marketing. And I'm not, and people can hate that I'm saying that, but I work with a lot of these big agencies. I work with a lot of these experiential teams and people and all these things, but they don't know really the pulse. They know the analytics and they know how to drive the revenue and get the eyeballs. But in terms of the engagement and making it make sense to the masses, like you're saying, yes, it looks good for the people that are there that are going to spend the time because they have the adulation for the ads in person. But those of us who watch it, it's about as boring as it gets, right? And right. That's been the biggest knock right now on what's happening. It's become too gimmicky. And if you're going to do that, I think you need to have a fresh eyes of people there. I'd rather see just competitions and challenges with these players to see where they can get humbled in pedestrian type things that they no longer know how to do, because it's not about your professional sports, right? We're just seeing an extension of what happens after an interception or a touchdown. It's a celebration, right? After every catch, after every first down,
Right.
after everything. And the NFL pushes that because again, it's the audience that they're looking for. But if you're looking for skill and you're looking for definition of detail to things, you're really not looking at that, because it's not the same. It really isn't. And a lot of people say, well, the old heads will get on there and they'll talk about, oh, well, back when we did it, it was just no. Let's just pull it fast forward. It does not matter which era you're in. There's a discipline to everything. There's a good, like, if it's football, let it be football. If it's going to be flag football, I'd rather see you go against regular people instead of Pro Bowlers against Pro Bowlers, because they're not going to, I saw the interception. We just watched where the guy's not even trying to tackle the guy. They're not trying to pull his flag. What's the point, right? If you have them, doing other things, hot dog eating contests, I don't care what you do. Get all the linemen, man. Get them there eating hot dogs. I don't care. Eating pizza, something like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just
hula dancing, maybe hula hoops. I don't know.
No, Scott, I wouldn't put you as a commissioner on the board, man. You have these guys out here doing, I don't know what they might be out here doing, man. Throwing darts.
I'll just tell you. So they used to have the quarterback club and the quarterback challenge, and I did that 3 or 4 times, and I loved it. It was really fun, and it was very entertaining. I mean, it was. And it wasn't hokey at all. Like they were legitimate drills that really accentuated, your abilities and or inabilities and your skills. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I got to ask you this question, and you can't look. It's not not a right or wrong answer. I don't want to put any pressure. I don't want to put. But who is your favorite quarterback? I just want
Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell.
See, I was just fishing. Listen, I was just fishing for compliments. I just wanted to hear it.
No, you don't have to do that. But listen, I'm telling you, man, it's not even something to defend. Any receiver that has had the most success with their quarterback, Pro Bowl or no Pro Bowl, it does not matter. And like I said before, I always say this today: you got snub for one. Everybody gets that, right?
Yeah.
Why would I swap out the guy who has me sitting where I'm at? Who's going to make me better than the guy that made me the best at what I was doing? Like, where am I going to go from there? Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, so it's not to sit here and to say something because it's you and it's because it's Scott on here. You ask anyone who you've never met, you ask them when they ask me who's my favorite quarterback, and that's nothing against the other quarterbacks I played with. I just didn't have enough time with them. I had the most time with you. I had the most success with you. I vibed with you a lot better. It was just great. And so, yeah, so that's man, I thought you were going to throw me a curveball or something, man. You got to get a harder question than that. That's a layup. That ain't even a layup. That's a dunk. That's a dunk for somebody. That's a dunk for a 7-foot+ high jumper who has a 8'6" reach to dunk on a 10-foot rim. So there you go.
Hey, I was feeling a little insecure this morning. I just needed, it's like you drink coffee to kind of get yourself, kind of jazzed up. I just needed to hear. I needed to hear good love vibes. That's all it was.
People are lazy.
It's completely self-serving. So it's all
listen,
good.
Man, people are lazy. Even when it comes to my numbers, it comes to my stats, it comes to things I've done. And I'm not a perfect receiver. No one is. We make mistakes. I've dropped passes. I've had fumbles. I've messed up where potentially I cost my team opportunities. It's part of the game. It's who you are. Either you can live and you can thrive with it. Have you been a perfect quarterback with a perfect QBR or whatever? No. Have I been a receiver that has come through the clutch every single time that's needed? No. That's what happens. But we try and pick the scapegoats for scenarios when it's a team sport, and we will motivate and we will kind of graze over or gloss over, depending on who we're talking about. So it's like I'm at a point in my life where it's like either we're gonna deal with the objective data, get rid of the marketing BS that goes around saying who did what and who's better than this, that, and the other. It's a team sport. We did not win. Okay, period. You want to go down the list and pull all our asses on the list, pardon my language. And then just, if you want to give us a hierarchy of who was most responsible, then okay, you could try and do that. But the whole team fails. Everybody fails.
Yeah, boy, I hear you. I tell you, you know, talking about not being perfect. And I'm going to tell you something that just like stabs you deep in your gut. You know, when you feel like you failed, throwing a pick six to end a game, like an overtime game, or, you know, there's nothing worse than that. I'll just, you know, you talk about messing up. And, you know, I think about it, it happened twice to me. Once was against Cincinnati, one was against the Washington Redskins. And both times I threw the ball to Johnny Morton. And maybe that should tell me who I should have thrown the ball to in that situation. You know, I screwed up. I don't know.
No, you probably were picking the right thing. It didn't work out. I'll say this, man. You know, I look back and I look at some of the passes I caught. I look at some of the fumbles, because I've actually started to go back and look at film. And yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's like, yeah, I mean, these are all posters, by the way, man. We have all those. I look back and I just go, man, I don't know what happened. I may drop a pass, or I might fumble. I'll look at my hands, and because we know we're better than the moment, and we don't want to be defined by it. But you know, but no, people are lazy. Like you said, people are lazy. They only want to look on some of the things that, whether it's, you know, who we want to decide who's great and who's special. You know, if you look at all these, somebody's throwing me these passes. My job is to make the catch. Doesn't matter where the ball is. Doesn't matter how and where. And what defines me as a receiver is having that radius and that trust. I want the trust that my quarterback goes, I want to throw him the ball, you know, and that's when you talk about how do you win, that's how you win. That's the example when we talk about, if I'm going to keep my position, I just want the opportunity. You give me the opportunity, I make it happen. But I have to do it with my team. I can't throw myself the ball. I can't move the safety. I can't block at the same time. And that's it. You know, so for you, I will say this, man, because I know you like to beat yourself up sometimes, but I'm telling you, man, you can't allow the people out here to throw the shade. And I always tell people this, you know, playing that game at the highest level in the stage in front of millions of people in itself is a daunting task. And to come through play after play after play, situation after situation, and have to be on, it's almost you have to be willing to accept, how do I overcome when I don't succeed, more so than how do I handle success, because you're going to fail. There's no way around it. But how do you prepare yourself to overcome that? And I appreciate you. And like I said, my QB1, that's what I'm saying, Scott. What we're going to do on the Down and Dirty, I'm going to have my WR1, and you're going to have your QB1. And don't worry about what people think. Who cares? I don't care.
No, I don't. I believe me.
The right way. Just carry yourself the right way. Be nice to people. I'm willing to hear your feedback. I'll take it in the way it comes. Either you know me or you don't. You know the game or you don't. Period.
And I, you know, and I said that just not beating myself up, but just that, you know, when you were talking about, man, I fumbled before, I've done, you know, I've had those bad moments, and we all have, and I get it, and that is part of football and how it is. And I'm just telling you, there's nothing worse from my standpoint of, you know, throwing that's the one that hurts the most for you. And I look at our time together, and all I wanted was more time. Like, I really believed that we had a great nucleus of players, and we could have, you know, I just believe if we'd been given more time, put in the right circumstance, because you talk about everyone being, you know, on the same page with things. I know we would have had success in the playoffs, and I really believe we could have won a Super Bowl or two if had they, you know, really recognized and really developed and kept that whole nucleus of players together, because we were very good, and I know we were really good. And so it's just it's unfortunate. And speaking of Super Bowl, that is coming up this week. How much do you like? How much does it bother you, I guess, not winning a Super Bowl? You think much about it, or you don't care? It's like whatever, or do you just go, man, I just wish I'd have had one or two or something?
I at this moment would truly trade all my personal accolades, all the Pro Bowls, all the All Pros, the opportunity to go to the, be a nominee for the Pro Football Hall of Fame for one Super Bowl championship.
Yeah.
And for a team trophy. And here's why. I don't care where I go. I don't care these different places I go. The minute one of these guys, I don't care if he's the guy you don't even know his name, he pulls out his Super Bowl ring. You're trumped.
Yep.
And I don't mean the president. It completely it changes and it elevates that person to champion, team champion. You don't even care what their accolades are. You care about who did you play, what Super Bowl, what did you. This is a person that was handing everyone Gatorade. Hey, are you thirsty? And at the end of it, he's waiting for his ring. And I would trade that for every single individual accolade that I've had and that I've garnered as a single individual. And I mean that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. My youngest son, Zach, we had a bunch of people over for a Super Bowl. And this has been, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago. And Jason Buck, who Outland Trophy winning defensive lineman, Jason and I got to know each other and became friends today. And so I invited Jason Buck, who won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins, over to my house. And Jason was a good pro. He's never, wasn't a Pro Bowler or anything, but he was an adequate starter and played in 2 Super Bowls, won one, lost one. So Jason shows up with his Super Bowl ring at my house to watch a Super Bowl. And my son, bless his heart, who loves me, has never, ever invited his friends over to our house to get my picture with his friends. He calls all of his friends. And there's probably, 7 or 8 kids show up at my house. I haven't even met most of them. And they all want a picture with Jason Buck and his Super Bowl ring. And I'm just like, I'm never inviting you over to my house again, Jason. And Jason will wear his Super Bowl ring to Costco. And he'll walk around Costco showing everyone, hey, this is my suit. And I kid you not. And Jason's a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. And I'm just green with envy over it. Like I am so with you. If there was one thing in my life, boy, winning a Super Bowl would be it. And it's bugged me. It's eaten me alive. And you have to come to terms with it, because you're not going to have it. So you can either, let it eat you up. But I was just curious, your thoughts on what the Super Bowl is and what it actually meant.
Oh yeah, it means everything. It's the pinnacle of our sport. It's the pinnacle of that. It's the ultimate team accomplishment, right? And that's the other part. It kind of throws me a little bit, is that they talk about the guys that go into a lot of the upper tier in terms of Pro Football Hall of Fame and all these things. Sometimes it matters if you won a Super Bowl, and sometimes they exclude that. They go, well, this player didn't win one, but the ones that get there that don't have really quite the numbers that you think they should have to be considered at that level, they go, but they won a Super Bowl. Yeah. So it carries weight in conversation. It carries weight in the narrative of your career. It carries weight when it comes to how you are positioned among your peers in a game that we all play, regardless of what your individual accolades are. So it's one of those deals that a lot of teams are just saying, you know what, we ain't never going to get to a Super Bowl, so let's just market the heck out of our team. Let's keep just getting the fans high hopes, bring in a couple players, and some have it. I think there's something to be said. When I went to visit the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I walk in, and I went to New York to visit with the Giants, and when I had an opportunity to play there, it's amazing when you go into organizations where that is the standard, and that is what they show the history of their players that not only competed at such a high level and were influential or were at the apex of their career in the NFL, what they brought, but they show you the championships. They show you the wall of all these things. You know where I'm going with it. Like, and when you walk in, you're almost in awe of the presence. It's like almost like the big bright lights. You know, they say if you're going to the pearly gates and you're on your way to heaven and you see that, like if yours is if the Super Bowl would be like heaven in football, like you go there and the gates are there and you see all these shots. I'm walking through and it's like Super Bowl, championship, iconic players all over the place. And you go in and the tone is set. It's set. I mean, it is what it is. And so that's what, even like when we were with the Lions and stuff like that, and I don't want to digress, but you want that now. You know, I don't want the marketing. I don't care about the marketing. I don't care about the sponsorships and the all that. They'll come if you bring the story of what makes you great, what makes you want to be acknowledged and seen and be a part of and touched. And man, that's why I say Super Bowl or bust. Teams that aren't thinking of that, they have the wrong radar on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be like that in heaven. I think there'll be 2 Super Bowl Lombardi trophy, and actually Vince Lombardi will be the guy that introduces you into heaven. You'll be like, hey, welcome and thank you for coming. And
I guess hang out in Hawaii, man, on the beach, and I don't know yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say we have to die in order for us to get to the Super Bowl, and that's
why is everything turning so morbid, man? I'm just
trying
to talk about.
Are you afraid of
like the gates? Man, hold on, man. I'm talking about the gates, you know, in the Super Bowl being like heaven for football and all this, and all of a sudden you're like, well, when we die, or you know, we got to be dead. And come on, man, come on, Scott.
I don't think
you're in Hawaii, brother. Listen, you in Hawaii. You got the ocean, you got sunshine, you got you know, all kind of stuff going on in there, and you playing games.
I'm not afraid to die, Herman. That's all I'm saying. I don't think our existence here ends when it's. I think we're on to bigger and better things. I really do. And I don't.
It's got another conversation. And you know where I'm gonna go with that one too. People have to know they have to know you to understand that whole philosophy. And you probably don't remember this. You and I, we should sit and have a debate based on belief.
Okay.
About this whole topic, this whole conversation. We won't do it right now for the sake of time in the audience. But yeah, we had a
we
talk
should do
about,
it then sometime.
You know, the fear of death, and also where we go when we're done, and all these other things. Yeah. That was an interesting conversation. Yeah. And also how we get there.
Yeah, that would be a fun conversation. Because it's fun because you have a lot more life experience and you have a much deeper and I don't know, much more meaningful perspective on it. So yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. Speaking of the Super Bowl and all the pearly gates and all this stuff, how do you watch a Super Bowl? Like, do you like have a party? Do you not care? You know, because there's a part of it. It's a little hard to watch for what we've just talked about. But how do you watch it?
Typically, I'm sitting with a lot of fans. I'm usually at an event of some sort. That's been probably the last decade or more.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Like, is it something
fan parties I go to sponsored, like my sponsors,
okay.
or I'll go to some partnerships and, you know, their activations and things of that nature. And you go in, you hang out with the fans. I'm a very personable person. I love to sit and, you know, I don't mind having a fan beside me and feeling like, you know, I'm holier than thou. I don't need to do that. I sit, we chop it up. We talk sports. We talk about their lives. We talk a little bit about the game. And depending on how interesting that is, you know, the conversation is more personal or it's more about the game. So we just kind of vibe and flow based on how that goes.
That would be fun. Actually, like I would like to watch a Super Bowl with you sometime. That would actually be a fun thing to do. Yeah. Did you ever actually go to the Super Bowl? Like, as you get tickets when you're a player, and did you actually use your tickets, go and watch the Super Bowl from the stands, from actually the stadium? You ever do that?
Interesting story. So I was out I can't remember which game it was. It was out in Arizona at the Super Bowl. And I was given tickets to go. And I just had this conundrum. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to go deal with getting to the game, getting to a seat, having to do the concessions and do all this stuff. It's not that I feel like I need this catering or anything like that, but it was just like, it seemed like it was kind of bougie. So yeah, so what I ended up doing is I skipped the game. I didn't even use the tickets, and I flew back home that night, took a red eye, and basically flew back home because I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here for this. I want to beat the traffic getting out. And then when they had it here in Michigan, when they had it at Ford Field, I did have a suite, and I didn't go.
What?
Yeah, I didn't go. Yes, I think Pittsburgh and the Seattle were playing, and no, I didn't go, man. I didn't do it.
So, and it was it just the inconvenience for you, or is this like
just I'm not I'm just not into it like that. Like I love the game. I love watching the teams. You know, I appreciate what it means because I understand what the players are going through to get there. And I understand the commitment that is made for all parties, not just the players, but the organizations to get everyone, you know, prepared and do that week in and week out. But there's a convenience factor that wins out every time with me. If it's not convenient, it's not about the entertainment. I can get the same entertainment at home, like real talk, or I can go hang out with some of my favorite people in our favorite spot, doing our favorite thing, and have more enjoyment than going into because I need to be in the live experience. I think the live experience is for those who need the experience of going to a game or going to the big stage like that. And I think because that's not high on my list, other than to play in it is the highest on my list, not going to a game is not that high on my list.
When I played, so my 12 years, never went to the game, said I'm not going to the Super Bowl till I play in it. And so I just, and it was more of just that, you know, I'm only going when I deserve to be there kind of mindset. Then after I retired, I was doing some broadcasting stuff at the Super Bowl. And I went and actually really enjoyed everything leading up to the Super Bowl, did not go to the game. And I went home. A lot of the same reasons, you know, just the inconvenience of it. And we're kind of spoiled athletes and whatever, and it's fine.
Talk for yourself.
But well, you're the one that, you know, I'm just saying,
I'm not spoiled. I mean, I need to go there and you need to take care of me. You need to bring me a car. You need to bring my food. You got to make sure I'm in a suite. You got to make sure I got the drip. I got everything. No, I just like quiet. If you know me, anyone who knows me knows this. I like peace and quiet. I like convenience. And if I'm not wanting to be there, I like to be able to get up and leave when I'm ready to leave. I don't want to be asking permission and got to make all these arrangements and I got to make sure I do all this stuff. That's just too much. That's doing too much.
So I've been to one NFL game as a fan, and literally bought a ticket and went to a game. So I was, you remember Mark Trestman, right?
I do.
He was the court, you know, so Mark and I have stayed in touch all these years and just think the world of Mark. He's a wonderful man.
Likewise.
And he was out with the Raiders and he said, we need a quarterback. We need you got to come out here. So it was after, you know, I'd been out of football for a year or so, but I still trained because I really thought I was going to get an opportunity to play somewhere. So I go out to Oakland. They're gonna work me out on a Saturday, the day before their game. And they call me and say, hey, look, we're going to wait for the game. We'll work you out on Monday. So I'm there thinking, you know, I just thought I was going to work out on Saturday and see what happened, you know, and so I kind of had all this extra time and I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to an Oakland Raiders game. So I went to the stadium. I walked to the you know, the ticket office right out, you know, and I got a ticket, walked in the game. I got a great seat, by the way. And just some Joe Schmo off the street. And I started walking through the parking lot, you know, and Raiders fans are crazy. And I'm like, there's probably someone here that might recognize who I am. Cause it was, you know, still playing, you know, I'm not a short person, so I stick out in a crowd. And I went and watched, and it was actually fascinating. Not the game per se. The game was actually boring, but the fans to me and the Oakland Raiders fans, it was a fascinating. And I was like, these people, because they have kind of their, you know, their black hole and all that stuff, and they have characters. They have these people. They have calendars. They have all kinds. They've dressed up for years, and these people are going around to fans before the game, and they're all taking pictures. They all know who's who, and it just gave me a different perspective on a game. And I thoroughly thought it was a mistake after I bought the ticket, and then I found out, and I had quite an enjoyable experience as an NFL player going and watching a game, just as some Joe Schmo fan in the stands. It was kind of a funny time.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I think if I were gonna, no, not at all. I was gonna say, what I would enjoy is definitely. I think if I were gonna take in a game, I would do it if I could take it in with like the fanatical Lion fans. Like if I went and hung out with the fan base to do it that way, yes, I would go. I would go to a game, and I wouldn't want to go to a suite. I want to go into the stadium and sit down with them. And in fact, you gave me a good idea. Here's a thought. This is for everyone that's out there. So Scott, what we're gonna do is we're gonna road trip this season.
All right.
We're gonna go around. We're gonna pick some games, and we'll meet up, and let's take in some games. And maybe we'll stream live from where we are, and we'll be in the stands. We'll just be regular, Mitchell and Moore, the M&Ms. We'll be over there. We'll be doing our thing, and I want to see what that experience is. This will be a first, so it'll be the first time. I wonder if this is even the first time where you got a QB1 WR1 that's taking in a game, chilling wherever we are. There it is.
I almost bought season tickets to the New York Jets 1 year, just for that purpose. And I was and you can get a red-eye flight from Utah to New York City. I was going to fly out like late Saturday nights. I broadcast the Utah football game, so I was going to do it, and just as a joke. And I was going to buy the cheapest seats. I think I could get. I mean, it was crazy how cheap the seats. Like you get them like in the upper deck, and I'm like, I just want to go hang out with these people and just see what it's like to just be a football fan. And I don't know why I picked it. I think I picked the Jets is because they're so horrible. And I just wanted to see what it's like for these fans in these horrible organizations. So I'm all in. I got one final question for you. And I don't know if this is the best one to end on, but I'm going to do it anyway. Are Super Bowls boring without Taylor Swift? That's just the question.
You hear that? You hear that answer? You hear that silence, that awkward silence? Yeah, there you go. I mean, Scott, again, man. No offense. And I don't want anybody coming for me.
Oh, they're coming.
I mean, I wouldn't have noticed the difference. I wouldn't have noticed the difference. I like, that's not my world.
Okay. Look, he's frozen. He's frozen on the screen. I think I lost Herman. I might have lost. Did we lose our connection with Herman? Are you still? Oh, there you are. So,
hey man,
okay. Aside from her in the Super Bowl, do you like Taylor Swift?
No, I'm
do you
here.
like Taylor Swift music? Do you like her music? Oh, we've lost him. I don't know if he's messing with me now. I don't know what's going on. All right. Anyways, it looks like we've lost Herman. That's totally fine. We will end it here. So from world famous Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, Hawaii, this has been the Down and Dirty. We're coming back tomorrow. We've got a preview of the Super Bowl. You don't want to miss it. Fun conversation today with Herman Moore. Hope you have a wonderful day today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until then, we will see you then.